Rox D. Xebec, one of the most mysterious but influential characters in all of One Piece. But honestly, that could be said about a lot of characters in the series. So what makes him different? Why does he matter even with so little screen time? That's what we're diving into today, looking at how his story touches on power, authority, and rebellion, all through my Socialist Lens. One of the craziest things about Xebec, his crew. He didn't gather pirates, he assembled some of the most insane and powerful figures the One Piece world has ever seen. Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido. These aren't strong fighters, they're world-shaping forces. And the fact that they all started under Xebec says something. He was like a magnet for both chaos and ambition, and he rivaled the Pirate King's crew. Even after his passing, the influence of his crew carried on. Big Mom and Kaido became Yonko, Whitebeard shaped the seas, and the world government had to respond because of the sheer threats that this one pirate crew posed, which is too much. So, even if Xebec himself vanished, his legacy is everywhere. That's the kind of power we're talking about here. Impact that lasts far beyond your own lifetime. So what does this all say about Xebec as a figure? Even with so little screen time, he's basically a symbol of unchecked authority. He dreamed of controlling the world, but unlike other villains, his influence didn't die with him. It spread through the people he empowered, the chaos he left behind. Now from a political perspective, you can see the warning signs here. Absolute power in the hands of one person creates instability. That's why the world government had to step in, why the Revolutionary Army exists, and why characters like Luffy are celebrated as symbols of freedom. Xebec shows us what happens when ambition goes unchecked, and why collective resistance, rebellion, and organized opposition are so important. And here's where things get interesting. If you look at it through a political lens, Rox almost feels like an unintentional piece of revolutionary writing. Not because he was a revolutionary in the way Dragon is, but because his story exposes the cracks in the system. The fact that his downfall required the combined force of the world government and Gold D. Roger shows you just how dangerous he was to the status quo. It's kind of like Oda is saying, yeah, one person with absolute ambition is scary, but what's even scarier is how the system itself is so terrified over being toppled. That's basically the heart of the manifesto. It shows you both the dream of the total domination and the fear of losing control. And in between all that, we see the truth. People don't stay loyal to tyrants, but the ideas they spread can last long after they're gone. So even though Rox himself is gone, his shadow is everywhere. Think about it. Big Mom, Kaido, Whitebeard, all of them carry pieces of his ambition into the future. That crew didn't just vanish, they became pillars of an entire era. And this is what makes Rox feel so important politically. His crew represented unchecked chaos, but the fear of the Rox shaped how the world government operates. Their whole obsession with control, covering up history, and silencing anyone who challenges them, it's all rooted in the fact that someone like Xebec once almost tore it all down. So in a way, Rox isn't just a character, he's like a symbol of the system's greatest fear. The possibility that people united under one banner, no matter how messy, could shake the foundations of power itself. And maybe that's the real truth about Rox D. Xebec. It's not just who he was, or what crew he had, or even the battles he fought. It's about what he represents. He's a reminder that the world government's grip isn't unshakable, and that fear of rebellion has shaped everything since its fall. Oda might never give us that full picture of Rox, but maybe that's the point. The mystery keeps him larger than life, almost like a ghost haunting the story. And in a world built on opposition and cover-ups, sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't what we know, it's what they don't want us to know. So now let's theorize of what maybe Rox did to the government. The world government doesn't erase an entire man's existence just because he was strong. They didn't erase Roger, they didn't erase Whitebeard, they didn't erase Kaido or Big Mom. They feared those guys, sure, but their names are everywhere. But Rox, he's a ghost. That makes me think he did something way deeper than just running a powerful pirate. Let's start with God Valley. This is where everything went down. We know Rox was defeated there, but the details are shady as hell. The celestial dragons were present, that so-called gods of the One Piece world. Now think about it. If Rox had really managed to attack or kill them, it would have been the single biggest scandal in world history. So it makes sense the government would want to erase any trace of the man who even dared to make that move. But here's where it gets interesting. Rox didn't just want treasure or territory. His ambition was to become king of the world. That's not a pirate's dream, that's a political statement. It's like he wasn't just challenging the Marines, he was challenging the entire system. To me, that sounds like the same kind of energy the Revolutionary Army has now. Except Rox tried to do it all at once instead of building up slowly like Dragon is doing. And this is where theories about the Void Centric come in. The world government has a habit of silencing people who dig too close to the truth. O'Hara is the perfect example. So what if Rox stumbled onto knowledge about the ancient kingdom? Maybe he learned something that made him a real threat, not just to the Marines, but to the foundations of the government itself. If that's the case, his erasure makes total sense. He wasn't just a pirate captain, he was someone who might have come close to pulling the curtain back on history. Something we may even question, did Roger even know about? Or maybe they were capable of silencing Roger and not Rocks. So when I look at Rocks, I don't see just another pirate villain. I see a failed revolutionary. He was reckless, chaotic, and probably not even a good guy, but he still stood for tearing down the system. And the government made sure that no one would ever hear that story. If Rocks really uncovered the truth about the Void Century, then wouldn't Roger have done the same? Roger learned the real history when he reached Laugh-Tale, right? So why didn't the government erase him the same way they erased Rock? I think the difference comes down to timing. When Roger found the truth, he was already dying. The world government didn't have to silence him. His own sickness was going to do that for them. And even then, look at the impact he had just by speaking his last words. He sparked the Great Pirate Era. So imagine if Rocks had survived long enough to spread his truth. Maybe that's why Roger had to be completely wiped out. Roger could be contained by circumstance, Rocks couldn't. And that's what makes me think Rocks wasn't just dangerous, he was uncontrollable. Someone the government couldn't manage, couldn't spin, couldn't let exist in history books. And then there's Blackbeard. I don't think it's a coincidence that he feels like a modern reflection of Rocks. Both of them are chaotic, both of them attract dangerous people to their side, and both of them aim way higher than the title of pirate. Blackbeard isn't just chasing power, he's trying to break the entire system just like Rock. The only difference is that Blackbeard's playing the long game. He's smarter about it, hiding in the shadows until the right moment to strike. So when we look at Rocks being erased, it makes me wonder, is Blackbeard destined for the same fate? Or will he succeed where Rocks failed? Either way, the fact that these two pirates mirror each other so much tells us that Oda's not done with this idea of someone who wants to overthrow the world completely. And here's where I want to flip the question. What if Rocks wasn't actually the bad guy? Sure, he was violent, chaotic, definitely not a saint, but in a world ruled by a tyrannical government that enslaves entire races, wipes out history, and treats people like tools, maybe Rocks and even Blackbeard aren't just villains. Maybe they're just the products of the same system they're trying to tear down. Think about it. When oppression is baked into the world itself, rebellion is inevitable. Some rebellions will be noble, like Dragon's Revolutionary Army. Others will be messy, brutal, and ugly, like Rocks or Blackbeard, but they all come from the same place. A refusal to accept the world the way the Celestial Dragons built it. So maybe the real truth of Rocks to Xebec isn't that he was evil, or even that he was erased. The truth might be that he represents the kind of rebellion the world government fears most, the kind that proves their system will never be unchallenged. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit the like, drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your theories on Rocks and how you think he connects to the bigger story. And if you want more anime analyzed through a revolutionary lens, don't forget to subscribe.